Hello.
Good evening, everyone. If I could get a thumbs up, a wave, or some indication that you can hear me, that would be terrific. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone to the work session in advance of our meeting this evening. Alderman Whitmire reached out to me some time ago, last week early, I think, and we had actually previously talked briefly about this. And he requested some time on our agenda this evening, which I was pleased to recognize him for. And so that's the first item on our work session agenda. It deals with the St. Louis County Executive's COVID-19 orders and guidelines. I've seen a draft document on this significant matter. And with that, I'll recognize Alderman Whitmire to discuss the same with us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Certainly can.
Good. So, as indicated in this document that I've put together, there are many people that hold this same viewpoint and believe that we should speak up. Some have asked, so what's in it for town and country? And as I've reflected on that, I thought to myself that there's a great deal at risk or in place for town and country in terms of our population, the mental health and spiritual health of those folks, the economic well-being of our citizens as well as our businesses. And then lastly, our ability to govern ourselves. This has just been a very difficult period. So I suggested that we take some action to coalesce around a point of view and bring something before the county executive with our thoughts.
We are, I apologize, we have a little sidebar going here on a procedural matter, but we were actually looking for Alderman Frauchi, and she's not with us. And I was asking our capable advisor, Ms. Cupford here, whether that's because she's not able to join us or she's not available to join us. And I don't have a good answer yet, but we are at least aware. Alderman Holman seeking recognition.
She will be with us momentarily. She has a personal matter she's addressing, and then she'll join our work session.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, I didn't want to proceed if in fact she was having technical difficulties, but she'll join us as soon as her schedule permits. So Alderman Whitmire, thank you for bringing this forward. It is a very significant situation. There are disparate opinions on this, including around our colleagues at other municipalities. People feel strongly about it. It reminds me of a couple other issues in this town, that there are very respectable positions on both sides of the matter. And so I leave it up to the board as to what they would like to do. The floor is open. Alderman Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman Whitmire, it's okay if I question him?
In this format, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you talked to our county councilman, Tim Fitch, or anyone at the county about this?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Okay. All right. I just, I do appreciate you bringing this forward. We talked earlier, and I just had the thought of wondering about Councilman Fitch, if he had been, if you had any feedback from him. Thank you.
Further discussion. Alderman Benegas, are you seeking recognition? You're muted, sir.
that didn't work. There we go. Does that work?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Mayor, have you heard when you're meeting with other mayors, has this topic come up? And if so, could you share with us maybe what you're hearing from other municipalities in regard to this?
Sure. Thank you for the question. And we, as I hope people remember, I participate regularly and on a formal basis every other week in what's called the Metro Mayors Organization. And that is all mayors of cities with a population greater than 10,000. And so it's generally considered the larger cities. And this topic always comes up. And it always comes up from a couple of different perspectives. Number one, the economic consequences that we are all experiencing. Number two, the distribution of the CARES Act funding, which there was just publications on this morning. And we've been working extensively in that regard. And then on the social impact of the county regulations. I can tell you, Alderman Benegas and other members of the board, there is not a consensus on this. If you ask certain mayors, they subscribe verbatim to what the county's doing. If you ask others, and I think you can figure out who these, which municipalities are of what mind, or at least their leadership, and they feel strongly the other direction. And so I think it is it's a good topic, but there's not one that I can report any consensus of opinion on. Alderman Mortland.
Yes, Mayor. The question is, in the past, if we've had a topic like this, and let's say the board wants to move it forward, what is kind of the process? Do we, like Alderman Allen, do we usually go discuss it with the county council or get a little feedback, or is this something we adopt? Because I am believe, I mean, between the CARES Acts, business, sports, and just overall, there is a lot of our citizens looking for change.
Yes, that's an excellent question. These are real issues with real life consequences, emotionally, spiritually, financially, you name it. These decisions are impacting us all and in different ways. You can probably anticipate my approach, and that is based on how I approach most things, and that is to try to find some consensus of opinion, or at least if not, you've heard from everyone, and you've respected those different opinions, and then we make the decision for ourselves if we're not able to reach a consensus opinion. I would encourage just that. I mean, we've seen it in other areas that involve neighboring municipalities and St. Louis County. And I was very much in favor of conversation. I was not comfortable with picking sides, winners and losers, if you will, in that particular instance. This is a little different, obviously, but I think Alderman Allen makes a good point. I know Councilman Fitch would welcome the chance to have this conversation with us. We know leadership inside of the Page administration, and they would listen to us and participate in those conversations. I don't know whether I suspect we will not reach final agreement, but there may be things that adding our voice to one side or the other, including the expressions of opinion that Alderman Whitmire put into his draft document, might be persuasive. I don't know. So that's kind of a non-answer, Alderman, to your question. What is the process? The process is whatever we really want it to be. This document is very thoughtfully drafted. It has some strong language in it, and it expresses the opinion of the city of Town and Country. What the question in my mind would be, what do we want to do with that? Because if you're really about change, just filing a resolution is not going to affect that change. It's certainly going to express the opinion. Everyone's going to know where we stand. And the question for the board is, does the city want to become more actively involved in a discussion, or what do we want to do with this resolution should the board be willing to adopt it? Alderman Allen. You're still muted, ma'am. There
Okay,
you
this is not mine, this is my husband's. Okay. Okay, I'm looking at what you commented about the economic consequences, the CARES. Do we know when we might, I'm just thinking of timing, and, you know, we definitely have the concern for the resources back from the CARES Act. Do we have, is there any discussion on when we might see some of that back to our city?
Yes.
Because I'm assuming how those resources are distributed are somewhat impacted by how people in the county want to distribute those.
Yes, that decision has been made. It was an extended conversation over many months. And the essence of it went between a per capita distribution, which is how the federal funds came to the state, and a need-based determination. And there were formulas put forth for the latter, and there were people that felt strongly that that's the way it should go. And the decision was made late last week, but certainly this communicated again in writing this morning, that the $47 million that is being held by St. Louis County for the benefit of municipalities, not the unincorporated areas or other causes, is going to be distributed on a per capita basis.
And do we know the time? Do we know when? I'm
Ms.
just
Rice,
looking at,
Pam, do you have any information on that? You probably received the same communications that I have. I know Mr. Shelton's been in conversations with the Municipal League and others, but I don't, I was in trial this morning, so I don't recall exactly what that date was.
I don't have any information on it at all. This is the first I've heard of it, actually.
Okay, one,
Mayor,
Council.
Mayor, it's Steve Garrett. Could I speak to the subject?
Of course you can.
I just received an email about 2 hours ago that was forwarded from Pat Kelly, who sent it at 1:26 this afternoon. And this was, it looks like it's a form email from the Municipal League to all of the chief administrative officers in cities that says, letters and or emails will be sent to you from St. Louis County this afternoon. It will contain the amount your city is eligible to receive under the per capita distribution formula, in addition to outlining the procedures for applying for funds. The online application will go live tomorrow. To ensure compliance with St. Louis County, we developed the attached resolution and ordinance, one of which each city will be required to adopt. If you have any questions, call me. So that's seems to be maybe as updated an information as we could get, and it would appear that that they're going to do it on a per capita basis, and St. Louis County apparently is sending out, I guess, communications to each of the cities. I just wanted you to know that I received that.
Thank you very much. And as I said, I was traveling all day today, so I did not, I knew the decision had been made involving a per capita distribution as compared to some other calculation. I did not know, I was not able to read that from the road. So that's helpful, Council. Thank you. I'll tell you what I know about the resolution, and then we need to watch our time a little bit. What I know about the resolution involves a hold harmless arrangement that the cities are required to sign that says essentially, and I'm not reading or even attempting to paraphrase, but my basic understanding of it is that if the federal government claws back these dollars from St. Louis County because of the way or the manner in which they were distributed, then the counties would return, I'm sorry, the recipients would return those dollars to the county, which only makes sense. So it is something that was necessary to convincing the county, St. Louis County, that the funds should be distributed to the municipalities out of the substantial distribution that they received from the federal government some time ago.
And Mayor, I just noticed attached to the email from Pat Kelly of the Muni League is a form resolution and an ordinance that essentially says that, and it does have that indemnity clause in it.
Thank you. Alderman Allen seeking recognition. I'm going to give it another few minutes, and then I'm going to ask Alderman Whitmire to speak last on the subject and
Okay.
see where he wants to go with this resolution.
And I'm sorry, I did not mean to hijack the discussion from the resolution to the CARES. I just want to make sure that a resolution would not have any impact on us getting the monies.
Not to my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Timing's everything. Alderman Holman and then Alderman Whitmire.
I'm curious to understand what, if we did adopt and pass this resolution, what are the next steps? Would it be to rally other municipalities? And how would we go about doing that before we would bring it forward to the county council? Or would next steps include going directly to Councilman Fitch? Just would like to hear a little bit more on next steps.
Yeah, and I think you heard my ideas, and that it really comes down to what the board would like to do by considering and potentially passing this resolution. That would kind of dictate where we go with it from there. It's really, if you don't know where you're going, all roads lead there, right? I mean, in this instance, if we know where we want to go, then the question is, how do we want to take the first step? And this resolution may or may not be that first step. Alderman Whitmire, do you want to kind of tell us what's on your mind and where you'd like to see this considered in the future? And then we'll move on to the regular meeting.
Well, I would suggest that we take a two-pronged approach. One is that we, redline this document, solicit the input of the board here and other members of the staff, and redline this form. At the same time, we reach out to Councilman Fitch and get his input. And maybe there are one or two others that folks would suggest that we reach out to on the administrative side of the county, that we could just get their input and just do those things kind of at the same time.
Excellent. Well, everyone, would you please provide comment to Alderman Whitmire, who is the author of this draft document? He put it forward in very appropriate form as a draft to solicit our input. And if you would provide that input, I know he and I as well would appreciate it. We will continue this conversation quite possibly at the next meeting. Okay. Being careful of our time, I want to move to the regular meeting agenda now, and the minutes from August 24 have been distributed. How do they look? Everybody okay? Thank you.
Good.
We have several public hearings on the agenda. I don't believe there's anything too complex there. We've got a pavilion at 14 Country Air Drive. Is that ready to go? Everybody okay hearing that matter?
Yes.
Thank you. We've got sign variance for Flushing Meadows. Is that okay? Ready to hear that?
Yes.
If no, thank you. Same question with respect to one at Maryville Center Drive. All right, thank you. Alderman Weezahan seeking recognition.
I just had a quick question in regard to that one. And I might be misunderstanding it, but it says the letters shall not exceed 18 inches. But the letters, it goes on to say the letters will be 30 inches, therefore a variance of 6 inches. Should it be a variance of 12 inches?
Who's got that? Is Randick on the line with us?
I'm sorry, Mayor, if I can go.
Yeah, yes.
Alderman Weezahan, are you talking about for US Cloud or for Accenture?
Accenture. It was on Mr. Spencer's memo under section 420.140.A.11.c.
I will confirm that before the public hearing and then try to get an answer for it during the public hearing.
Okay.
Maybe Mr. Varley will know something about that. I'd welcome your inquiry during the public hearing, Alderman Weezingham. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Good catch. On the appointments, I'm going to announce my intent this evening to seek your support in 2 weeks' time for the appointment of Jack Vasquez to the Police, Fire, and EMS Commission, and Dan Chanukes. Vasquez is from Ward 2. Chanukes is from Ward 3, also to the Police, Fire, and EMS Commission. I've spoken to the chairman of that body, and he welcomes those individuals to his commission. And then Mark Johnson to the Public Works Commission. And so I will formally announce those this evening, and please look to take action on that in 2 weeks' time. We also have the obligation, in my opinion, the privilege of reappointing our city clerk to her position every September. And I've probably never had another nomination that I've made in my service to the city that I'm more proud of than seeking your support for the appointment of, or the nomination of Ashley McNamara to serve as our city clerk.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question for Steve Garrett, and then maybe I will continue this conversation with Alderman Benegas and bring something back to our next meeting. But when I read the language with regard to our city clerk and her appointment, which is in September of even numbered years, it goes on to say that who shall hold such office until his or her successor is elected. And I interpret that in a different way than how we've been executing that. So I would just like to better understand that. In my mind, she's appointed until she retires or is terminated, and then somebody is elected in September of an even year. That's my interpretation of the language. And so that I would either like to clean that up, and in cleaning that up, I would also like to change the every other year to either 4-year or until retire or termination, as opposed to doing it every 2 years. And in checking with other municipalities, there really aren't any other municipalities that re-elect their city clerk every other year.
So it's a good question. That's stand and serve language, which permeates most of our positions in Town and Country, and that's good language, and we're going to talk about that with respect to a planning and zoning commissioner. And the election, of course, is by the board. So it may not be the most artfully drafted provision in the world, and I would take your points on that. Whether we want to change that to a 4-year election or term is a separate conversation. And I'd be glad to continue that conversation. Alderman Whitmire. We have 4 minutes.
Mayor, we're running out of time. So my question is, must we pass a tax levy tonight of one form or another?
Yes, because we have certain reporting times that need to get satisfied before that levy goes in. It has to be turned into St. Louis County. So that's why we had the special meeting in August and have acted accordingly to get to this evening. Regarding commission reappointments, I'm prepared to receive a motion on those. They've been around. Hopefully you've had time in those intervening 6 months to consider those appointments, and I'll look for a motion to confirm those appointments. Most of those names are well known to everybody. I'll also look for motions to approve the members of the Planning and Zoning and the Board of Adjustment that have come before this body for interview and have also served for an extended period of time. And so they are well known to you by virtue of their service and also by their presentation for an interview. I will not be seeking your support for the appointment of Andy Kuchin. He is a vice chair of Planning and Zoning. He has served this city with distinction. I support him entirely, but he came to me some time ago and told me that he was putting his house on the market soon. And apparently I said, well, when that happens, you let me know. And that has happened. And so he will continue in a stand and serve capacity until I'm able to identify and advance someone to take his place, or he is no longer qualified, in which case, by virtue of his departure from the city, he will forfeit that office. So while he's living here and a resident of Town and Country, he is eminently qualified and has done well in that position. And so he will stand and serve, but I will not be seeking your support for another 4-year term. Now we're on unfinished business. The board as a whole has got a bill dealing with the property tax levy rate. We are, I would ask if we're ready to proceed. I think in answer to Alderman Whitmire's question, we must proceed this evening. And any questions, comments, or concerns regarding that Bill 20-37? Alderman Allen.
And I do have a sub, Mayor.
Okay. You'll recognize you for purposes of offering your substitute.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Thank you. Alderman Holman, is your bill regarding snow removal services ready to go?
It is.
Thank you. We're on new business. We've got a bunch of first readings, mostly related to those matters that we heard on public hearing. And we will first read all of those bills. We'll act on the resolutions, those affect the sign code variances, unless Alderman Benegas tells me that disturbs his sense of decorum and good governance.
It does, Mayor.
Well, I would entertain a motion to continue those till September 28th, if the board would so proceed.
Thank you.
Certainly. We'll first read item number 6 regarding the Mercy Plan. And then we've got a bunch of code, the 2018 International Fire Code modifications. We'll first read all of those. And we've got last 2 matters are incorporating some of those into our municipal code and then making them a matter of local ordinance. And then we're going to first read the motorcycle helmet bill.
Are you going to take the sponsors at the meeting, or do you want the sponsors right now?
Oh my goodness, thank you.
That's about the same thing.
Because you can put my name on all of them if you go through the list.
So I was moving too quickly for my own good, trying to get us on time. But let's go back to item number 3.
I'd like to be on that one, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Who else? Anybody?
Holman.
Holman, Grouchy. The resolutions are going to be continued and they don't have a sponsor anyway. Number 6.
I'd like to be on that one also. It came through Planning and Zoning.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Holman and Grouchy. Thank you for that. Now the building codes.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to recommend board as a whole for the building codes since they affect the entire city.
Everybody okay with that?
If my colleagues feel so inclined.
Yeah, everybody all right? We'll do those as a board as a whole. Good suggestion. And then we're on item 13, that's incorporating those into the municipal code as a board as a whole. Want those?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes,
And then now, different question, but motorcycle helmets. This was a matter that needed to be changed by virtue of the August 28th effective date on motorcycle helmets. This is I won't even say it, Steve. Does anybody want this bill?
Sure, you can put me on there.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, thank you. Now, council, are you, we got the warrant list, everybody okay?
I feel
Warrant
like
list, okay, thank you. Is this time sensitive, Mr. Garrett? The real estate matter that you've circulated some materials upon?
I don't, I don't know. I don't think so, but you know, obviously they're waiting to hear from us, but how time sensitive it is, I don't know. I was not told that by the other side.
Well, we've got a lot of business in front of us, so unless you retract and revise your remarks, I'm not going to seek a motion to go into closed session. Okay, thank you, everyone. I apologize for running a couple minutes over. Thank you for catching us up, and I'll talk. Let's sign off and sign back in.